Hi Angels, this will be the chapter 21 of You Are My Heroes by Lavender Thoughts 21 on AO3. Food tin. For the first time that week, Aizawa had a nice night of decent sleep. So when he woke up to the early sunrise at 6 in the morning, he didn't feel the need to go back to sleep. Instead, he went to check up on the kids sleeping in the next room. With a great big stretch, Aizawa hopped out of bed and walked quietly into the room. The door slowly creaked open to reveal Izuku and Katsuki still sleeping together on the small twin-sized mattress. The man leaned on the entryway, the corner of his mouth moving up as he saw the boys sleeping peacefully. Bakugo didn't have a night terror tonight, and Izuku was still in his arms, face dug into Katsuki's chest. Just when Aizawa was about to leave them to rest a while more, Izuku stirred and turned around to face away from Katsuki. This in turn caused the All Might plush that was at the corner of the bed to fall to the floor and hide slightly under the bed. Aizawa quietly walked into the room to retrieve the plush so that the boys wouldn't lose track of it. That's when a smell hit Aizawa's nose. Not a particularly bad smell, but more like something sweet that wanted to rot. With a pit in his stomach, Aizawa got on his knees and looked under the bed with the flashlight on his phone. There towards the corner end of the bed, touching the wall, was a small mound of food. Confused, Aizawa reached out and pulled a mysterious food item towards himself. A slimy texture graced his fingertips, and he cringed at the sensation. To his displeasure, he had pulled out a half-eaten, mostly rotting banana from the depths, the peel still on, but an ugly brown and black color. That wasn't all! After pulling out all the items at the back, Aizawa found a small stash of food. This stash consisted of half a banana, 2 boxes of raisins, an orange, a slice of bread, a mustard bottle, an egg, and a sippy cup half full of water. Without counting the human food, there was one more object, unlike the others. A can of cat food, the same that was kept in the pantry in the kitchen. Aizawa had seen this before, mostly in slightly older kids. They were struggling with food security. The man sighed as he recognized the behavior. It was a hard habit to help break. Aizawa wasn't angry, not even with the thorough cleaning he would have to do under the bed to make sure no trace of the rotting banana was left. More than anything, he was slightly disappointed in himself for not thinking of this issue earlier. Food was an issue with the boys, so in turn he should have thought to look out for these kinds of things. There was shuffling above Aizawa as one of the kids moved around in the bed. Aizawa was still on the floor, so he held still, hoping the kids were still asleep so he wouldn't startle them. However, green eyes peered over the ledge of the bed, and quickly the groggy face of Izuku snapped awake as the boys saw the man lying on the floor, peering back up at him. In his half-asleep state, Izuku didn't recognize the man, and the boy's eyes shot open in fear. Quickly Midoriya jumped back to the wall, a scream escaping his mouth. "It's just me, I'm sorry!" Aizawa quickly got up, raising his hands in the air. However, the damage was already done. If Midoriya's scream didn't wake Bakugo, the way Izuku fell on top of the sleeping blonde did. A puff of air escaped Bakugo's lips as the weight of Midoriya was put on top of his stomach. Bakugo's eyes shot open as he sat up from the bed, his eyes darting around the room until they landed on Aizawa. The light from the window behind Aizawa made it so that his facial features were unidentifiable to Katsuki, making him a tall shadow of a man. Bakugo's eyes, which were filled with groggy confusion, opened wide with terror as the boy realized the worst of his fears had come true. The blonde's heart started to pick up as he saw that he was in a dark room, cornered with an adult stranger looming over him. Bakugo screamed as he felt powerless to defend himself from the non-existent threat. The scream in turn made Midoriya panic even more, the boy closing his eyes tight as he began to cry in the back of Bakugo's shirt. Aizawa quickly went to turn on the light, hoping the boys would calm down as they recognized him. The instant the lights went on, Aizawa saw fault in his plan. Instead of darkness, the boys still couldn't see with the sudden blinding light. Bakugo's eyes shut at the sudden light and pushed himself back into Midoriya, pinning the green-haired boy to the wall. Bakugo still kept his arms out to make sure nothing was grabbing Izuku from behind him. To this, Izuku grabbed onto Katsuki, hugging the blonde tightly from behind. Sounds escaped Bakugo's throat that sounded like it wanted to be words, but just sounded like pleading babbling. Tears are coming from his tightly shut eyes, running down from his cheeks to his chin. "Katsuki, Izuku, it's okay, it's just me, Mr. Aizawa. Remember, you're safe, I promise." The man tried once again to get the boys to recognize him, but only Izuku held still. Midoriya was first to adjust his eyes to the sudden change of lighting. Peeking from behind Katsuki, Izuku's squinting eyes scanned the man's face and saw that it was just the man who had been caring for them the last couple of days. "Mr. Aizawa," Izuku called out unsure, rubbing the tears out of his eyes with tiny fists, trying to see better. "Yes, it's just me. I'm not going to hurt you too, Katsuki." Aizawa used a soft tone as Bakugu's eyes adjusted. That's when the man noticed that obviously the blonde didn't have his hearing aids on. With that, Aizawa slowly made his way to the bedside table and grabbed it for the boy, handing it to Bakugu, which the boy shakily accepted with trembling hands. "You are safe. You and Izuku are safe. Nobody is here. Nobody is going to hurt you too." Aizawa spoke the words slowly and clearly for Bakugu and Midoriya. Their tear-streaked faces looked up at him for reassurance. "Safe?" Bakugu questioned, sniffling and rubbing off the tears from his face. "Yes, you are safe." Aizawa repeated the same words. "Promise?" Izuku spoke up from behind Katsuki. "I promise." "Safe, Kachan." Midoriya directed his question to Bakugu, who was still looking into Aizawa's eyes unblinking. Finally, after a couple of seconds, Bakugu wiped the last tears falling from his eyes and nodded. "Safe," Bakugu reassured Izuku. A small sigh of relief escaped Izuku's lips as the tension released from his shoulders. Bakugu, on the other hand, was still tense. His gaze focused on Aizawa. Seeing that he was still frightened, Aizawa picked up the All Might plush from the floor and handed it to the boy. Bakugu accepted the plush with less shaky hands and gave it a deep pressure hug. "Again, I'm sorry I scared you too. I won't come in anymore without knocking, okay?" Aizawa felt like he had taken 2 steps back with this mistake. The boys weren't scared anymore, but still held an uneasy look in their eyes as they nodded. They were waiting for the man's next move, looking at his next step to be sure they weren't in danger. "Let's get you dressed for the day, and then I'll make breakfast. Does that sound okay?" Aizawa asked, and they nodded again. They were unsure of their words, scared of saying the wrong thing. Usually, he wouldn't change their clothes until after breakfast. But with the fright Aizawa gave Bakugu, it was probable that the young kid lost control of his bladder, and he needed to change him as soon as he had the chance. How about some pancakes again? With banana slices? Aizawa decided on a special breakfast to make up for his morning mistake, and their eyes instantly got their light back. The man had picked up on their favorite past meals. Izuku had happy memories of his mother's pancakes, and Katsuki loved bananas. Aizawa was 90% sure it was Bakugu who hid the rotting fruit under the bed. "Can we have?" Izuku asked, but was quickly silenced by the soft jab of Katsuki's elbow in his stomach. "It's okay, ask your question, Izuku, darling." Aizawa encouraged Izuku to ask his question again. There was an uneasy look on Bakugu's face, but he let the green-haired boy speak. "Can we eat dinosaurs' eggs again?" Izuku asked. "The oatmeal," Aizawa asked, and the boy nodded meekly. "Of course, anything you want," Aizawa said, and Izuku's eyes lit up along with a smile. "Sekan," Katsuki started, unsure if he was also allowed to ask questions. "Go ahead and ask," Aizawa said to put some ease on the blonde's mind. "Can have strawberry too?" "Yes, you can have some yummy strawberries as well." Aizawa agreed to the boy's request, and his eyes widened in awe at the acceptance. The boys made their way off the bed as Aizawa picked out some clothes for the boys. Just as the man turned around, he saw that Bakugu pushed something under the bed, quickly standing on his feet as he caught the man's gaze. Izuku took a step next to Bakugu, giving a shaky smile, and looked Aizawa in the eye for a second before his gaze retreated to the floor. "Too late, I saw the food under the bed," Aizawa told them, remembering the discovery he made earlier. Now that he was reminded, he should try to fix that problem as well, especially the cat food pot. Luckily, due to some similar experience from the past, he doesn't buy the pull-tab cat food cans anymore. "It me not Deku." Katsuki stepped forward, guilt on his face as he confessed to his misdoing. Again, like the day before, Katsuki raised his head for a backhanded hit from Aizawa. Izuku's frown reappeared as he looked on at the scene before him. "I won't hit you," Aizawa told him, as Katsuki started to tremble from the expectation of the punishment. The man crouched down to Katsuki's level, making eye contact. "Listen, I don't mind you hiding food under the bed, but you can't eat cat food. That's for Lady. You have your own food." "Not for me," Bakugu spoke up, cutting off Aizawa mid-sentence for the first time. "Who's it for, Lady?" "It is for Lady," Aizawa asked, and Bakugu nodded. His heart swelled as he realized that the boy was saving food for Lady just in case Aizawa didn't feed her. "You're such a sweet boy. Thank you for thinking about Lady. But she'll always be fed. You'll always be fed too." Aizawa tried to ease the boy's fear, but it was clear Bakugu's pouting face and longing gaze at the food pile that it wasn't a fear he was going to get over quickly. "Okay, you can keep the food for Lady, but all this other stuff has to go." Bakugu let out a small whine as he comprehended that Aizawa would take his stash away. But Aizawa caught Bakugu's interest again to keep the boy from spiraling. "You can pick out some food to keep under there. I just need to approve of it first." "You're not mad? The bed food not bad?" Midoriya spoke up from behind Katsuki. "I don't like it because we have food in the kitchen, but Bakugu gets nervous without it." "Is that right, sweetheart?" Aizawa asked, and Bakugo nodded, confirming his theory on the blonde's food insecurity. Let's go choose some food that won't go bad like that rotting banana, okay? Aizawa pointed out the black mess of a peeled banana, just to make sure Bakugo understood why this was happening, to keep him safe. For the next 20 minutes, Aizawa let Bakugo and Midoriya pick out some food to keep under the bed, rejecting perishables and ingredients like sugar and grounded-up paprika. The approved foods consisted of things like crackers, cereal bars, soft cookies sealed in easily tearable packets, fruit roll-ups, and soft candies, and they got to keep the boxes of raisins. This looks like a good haul, but before we put it under the bed, let's put it in a proper tin. That way it won't go bad. Aizawa took out an empty rounded tin from the pantry, one he kept for cases like these. The tin was easily openable, but had a seal good enough to keep the food from going bad and prevent ants from coming in, but still easy enough for the boys to open. There you go, try to see if you can open it. Aizawa put the food inside, closed it, and handed it to Izuku. The green-haired boy pulled, and the case easily opened in his arms with a soft tug. Here, Kachan. Izuku, unsure of what to do with the box, handed it to Katsuki. The blonde opened and closed the box, making sure that he could also open it. Go ahead and hide it where you want, then come back for breakfast. Aizawa permitted Bakugo to be out of his sight for a minute to hide the box. This, in turn, gives the blonde peace of mind about where to keep his stash. Aizawa let out a frustrated sigh as Midoriya followed Bakugo. The man wasn't frustrated at the boys for having this issue. These kinds of behavior issues came with the territory of his job. Aizawa was feeling thwarted by the new issue. He had never really made progress with this issue before. Most of his temporary fosters left without resolving the behavior, and it always made him feel defeated. These emotions didn't make him less determined to fight the issue. Instead, he knew the plan to enact. Giving them the container was step one, but he will ensure they know that food won't be an issue over time. Over time, Aizawa reminded himself that he didn't have time. Instead, he would need to work on that detailed report for their next foster parent. It was always disheartening to be made aware that he wouldn't be the one who would ultimately solve this issue with them. This is the end of Chapter 21. I'll see you in Chapter 22. If you have suggestions, let me know. Don't forget to subscribe to know when the next one is out. Have a good day, angels.